What is up, Honey Badger Nation, man? Thank you guys for tuning in. We are episode 187 of Export Mentors Live, and I think we're going to probably have one of the most fascinating humans on the show today.
Yeah,
it's definitely going to be mind blowing. I know for sure. But man, Daniel, I appreciate you making the time, jumping in, and going to pour back into these amazing humans here in the Honey Badger Nation.
Yeah, I'm reading this little thing down at the bottom. Homeless real estate expert, pretty good. I need a sizzle reel like that, man. A little intro like I just saw. That was pretty pimp.
We'll get you, we'll pimp you out. So, man, again, welcome and let's dive in. Your story is fascinating, and I really didn't know. Obviously, had met you through really through Hillsman. I think was the connection, and he just said. He said, "Oh yeah,
dude's a nut."
Yes, and he's definitely got a story to tell. So,
and I'm an open book. Anything you want to know, I'll share.
Yeah. So let's dive in, man. Let's kind of start the journey off for us. Heading out of high school, going into college, playing some football.
So I'm vertically challenged. So I went to a small school, and I'm under 6 foot. And I went to a school called West Georgia and had a little scholarship. It paid for about a page in a book. And, played a little ball there. But into my freshman year, they, for the first time, I believe in the history of the school, they allowed student athletes to move off campus. That was something that they usually housed, like especially the football and basketball people. They were pretty tight with them. And so I moved out. This guy said, "Hey, man, let's go get this loft apartment." I said, "All right, we'll go do that." It was a beautiful old hosiery mill building, all brick, and these beautiful floors in it. And they completely redid it. So we rented it. Well, we were just talking about off camera, trip to Mexico. The first time I ever went to Mexico was with my girlfriend then, wife now, 100 years. And we went to Mexico, came back, and my roommate was standing in the kitchen with his mother. And I thought, that's weird. And I said, what are y'all doing there, boxing stuff up? I said, this is September too, by the way. So School
had just started?
School had just started, and this is a small town that lives off of the college. So like if there was a grocery store, if there was a rental, if there was a job, it was taken. Like if there was an apartment that was open already, it's closed. Like there's nowhere to go and find housing, jobs, anything. It's locked in until somebody gives up the job or gives up the apartment, right? So way more people than places to live there. So September-ish sometime, I come in and his mom's there, they're boxing stuff up. I said, "What's going on, man?" And he said, "We got evicted." I said, "What? Got evicted?" I said, "Well, we get to answer this, my degree is in real estate, and I was doing, learning about real estate then, so I thought I knew it. But anyway, he said, "No." Pointed to the trash can. On top of the trash can was a eviction notice. It had come and gone. The appeal process had come and gone. So this is Sunday. So we got back from Mexico, and so I picked it up and I said, "All right, well, I'm going to go tomorrow to the court and try to get a stay." They gave me a stay because I had never had any, problems. I always paid my rent and everything. We lived there for several months. And what he had done was not once but twice gotten drunk and thrown beer bottles at the brick building for some reason. So they put us out. So I'm like a casualty of this. So now I'm homeless. So I could take showers at the field house. I could take showers at the gym. I went in different little couch jumping for a little bit. Didn't want to move home over it, and never missed school over it. And a few weeks later, I'm still driving around at night. And I find this little brick ranch house. And the whole point of the story is, how did I get involved so heavily into real estate?
Yeah.
That's what we're going. That's what we're wrapping around to. Okay. And anyway, so I don't usually tell this to anybody, so I have to think about it a little bit. But so I drove around. I found this guy's name. Last name was Herndon, and he was working on a little '50s brick ranch, and it was him and his father, and both of them looked spent. Like they looked like this was the worst decision they'd ever made. So I went in and said, "Hey, I'll give you $100 a week, and I'll renovate it." I didn't know nothing about renovating. I was still in school, right? I mean, I knew nothing about any of that. And he said, "Okay, I'll do it for you, like a lease purchase. You got 12 months to close it, or 2 years or something." And so I said, "All right." So that's what we did. Dude, you could see through the floors. You should see when I took my wife over there. She's like, I mean, my wife now, she's girlfriend then. She's like, "You're crazy. Like, there's no HVAC. Half the windows are busted out. No appliances, none just weren't there. Half the floor is missing. The tub, literally, you had to step over holes, and the tub drained straight into the crawl space." I said, "I'll take it."
Man, I got a place to live. Was it just sheer out of desperation?
Pretty much, yeah. Because I wasn't going to give up. I just didn't want to give up. I wasn't going to quit. So anyway, long story short, moved in there. My mom gave me some advanced rent and paid the guy in advance. And then I said, "Look, I can't take stuff back to Home Depot and get my money back. So I'm going to renovate this house for you as I live here." Well, 3-4 months later, I ended up renting it to college students, roommates. I became roommates of mine, and I was making money, everything paid for. And so what I did was I had a little scholarship, and then I also had a little academic scholarship, and that we get in Georgia. I don't know if you still get it or not. It's called the Hope Scholarship. You have certain grades. And I had credit cards. So I went and bought everything on credit cards. And I did all the work myself. And I was so broke, man. I would go to Home Depot, and they used to have this little library section in Home Depot, like just little bookshelves. I would go and memorize what I had to do that day. Sweat copper, put a roof in, whatever it was, put on shingles. I'd go memorize it because I couldn't pay the $60 for the book. And then I would go home and do it. And after I did that one, then I did another one. Then I did another one. And I was just renting to college students, putting their parents on leases. And then I started finding people to owner finance these houses for me that, were sick or whatever, had moved out of that town, moved to, back up north, wherever they were from. Most of them, for some reason, from up north, like Michigan. And they did these owner financing, and I did 7.5% interest, 15-year mortgage. And at the end of the day, I was making money, flipping the houses. I flipped some of them out, and then I would get mortgages. When I got out of college, I put actual real mortgages on them. And what I did was I called the people up, and I'd say, "You know what? I owe you." These weren't great houses, by the way. Also, they're like $50,000 to $80,000 homes. So I would call them, and I'd say, "Hey, I owe you $50,000, right? Never missed a payment. Owe you $50,000. In 2 weeks, 14 days, if I could get you $30,000, would you satisfy the note?" And I would say 7 out of 10 did it. So I made a lot more money. And by this time I graduated college. So I was basically like 22 with 16 houses that I'd been some sort of a part of, flipping, renovating, or renting. And I use credit cards. So and every Wednesday night, I would sit down with an Excel spreadsheet, and I played the credit card game. Had 33 credit cards. And every Wednesday night, I would call the 1-800 numbers or 188 number, whatever it was. And I would say, "Hey, look, my teaser rate's about to expire. I owe you $70,000. But if you can't extend it, I'm going to drop it onto another credit card for 0% interest for another 6 months," or whatever they were. Because they had crazy credit card rates, man, when I was in college. If you could fog a mirror, you'd get 7 credit cards.
Yeah.
And then when I got out of school or I'd sell a house, I just paid a credit card off.
Yeah. Yeah, they did, man. They were handing them out like freaking Tic Tacs at school. So I'm fascinated to where this all, like, the ideas came from. You saw the opportunities. Where was there a mentor? Was it something you were learning? Was it like a professor or something that really impacted you at school?
No, because all the real estate stuff was commercial. It's all commercial. It has nothing to do with really residential sales or anything. So no, but I could see there was money to be made there. And literally I had a professor say something like, you could come in and you could be a professional teacher or something down the road or whatever. And I was thinking, man, I probably made more money this month than you did. I mean, I thought that. I thought, why would I do that? But then I also thought, how it was a lot of work, a lot of hard work, a lot of stress. Literally, my wife would bring bundles, 80-pound bundles of shingles up in the rain at night and up a ladder and drop them, and I would take them and start shingling because I had to be at school in the daytime. So it was crazy and a lot of work, a lot of stress. But I don't know where it came from to do it. But once it started. Then I figured out a way I could probably short the mortgages, and not really short them. I mean, they agreed to it. It wasn't like it was a trick or anything. Some did, some didn't. And then the state of Georgia, the reason why I got a real estate license was because I helped my brother buy a house for $32,000, and then we renovated it over like a year or something like that, and then we sold it for $64,000. And I wasn't a principal of the transaction; it was for my twin brother, right? So he pocketed that much money, and somehow or another the state got wind of that and said, "Hey, man, no, shame on you. You're being agency relationship. So you've got to get your real estate license." So then I'm like, I graduated. Maybe I'll get my real estate license. And the way I do everything is a lot like you. Condensed time. How do I get somebody else to pay for something? And then how do I condense time? That's what I think about all the time. I look for patterns and then how to shorten those patterns, those time frames and entities between it. And so then I went to this, D.R. Horton, America's Builder. I went to them and said, "Hey guys, I got an idea. I need y'all to pay me $15 an hour and pay for my real estate license. Give me 3 months or so to get it. And then I'll be your greeter or whatever you want to call it at their subdivisions." And they were like, okay. And I said, "I'm like a rental agent, man. You can just tell me wherever to go. I'll drive to any subdivision." Well, then I got my license, and then I started selling a lot of houses. And then I went over several different neighborhoods. But man, those agents work really hard. Those on-site agents are there. They're locked there for a lot of hours a day. And there's a lot of respect that I give them because it's hard, right? And it's a lot of time away from whatever. So I thought, I was about 22 to graduate, probably almost 23. I said, man, I can't do this. I got to find a way to get paid more times than getting paid a little bit for every house and working here all the time. So then I went to work with the #1 agent in Cherokee County where I live now. That's 2 hours away where I was at. And we started developing neighborhoods and stuff like that. And I figured out a way to buy the dirt with their money and get paid, sell it to I didn't figure it out, copy her. I mean, it wasn't she had the formula. I just had to figure out how to shorten it. They would buy the dirt, get paid, develop it, sell the lots to the builder group. Had like 16 different builder groups that we'd sell it to. Then we'd build a house, sell it. 88% of them were both sides. These are, $500 to $1 million, $1.2 million homes. And then she kept most of the money, by the way, it was hers. So she took the risk. And then people that would come in, since I was now a Remax agent, I was a general agent. People that would come in, I would sell their houses. So then next thing you know, I had 8 neighborhoods doing that.
Yeah. And I love the lesson there, right? You see where the opportunity, how can you leverage and have others, and then, condense time. Always, how can we make things go faster? No, it's definitely an incredible lesson. And so jumping in.
Here's what she used to always say.
Yeah, I was about to ask, she's pretty much. She
would always say this when I'd go want more money, because I was on a guaranteed money, that I got bonuses and things like that. And when I'd go want more money or whatever, before I broke out on my own, she'd say, "You're under 30 years old. You need more lessons than you need checks."
Ooh.
And I used to think, she's probably right.
Yeah.
She's probably right. Right.
Yeah.
So this was like before texting or anything, man. I was learning on the job, but as long as you can kind of condense and make a mistake and work it out, and then make another mistake and work it out and learn from it, then it's worth it.
Yeah, it really is. I know, man, that was one of the favorite little periods of time when we were in the Lawton office, we got into doing a couple developments, and we ended up, selling to the number one home builder in the state of Oklahoma at the time, and then representing it, and so just being able to get as many bites of the apple as you can, and really, running with it. I've had some great mentors that were builders as well, and man, just so many lessons in. Yeah, definitely finding those great mentors that are going to pour into, that are going to give you the opportunity for more lessons.
And they get paid. I mean, they made money. They didn't have to be there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. I literally worked 30 days on, 4 days off. 30 days on, 4 days off. And that went on for, 4 years or so, I guess.
Where's that work ethic come from for you?
I don't know. My mom always worked. She always had multiple jobs. Sometimes I find myself wanting, and now I'm in this like teacher role a lot, and I never wanted to be a teacher. I literally stand up in front of people and say, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. That's your job. And it sounds like a real, butthole. I guess it is. But you got to keep going over and over something, so it's wasting time. Yeah. Right? I feel like we're up against the clock no matter what. We're up against the clock. And I don't know. I find myself like in this mentor role with different agents and stuff, and I love it, man. It's my passion. It is, but it also is also a challenge. Like I got into then, so I went from Remax with the Prudential, had 8 subdivisions with Prudential. Then I went to Keller Williams. They came calling. Went to Keller Williams. I thought, man, this is a great company. So I became, financial chair, so I could see the back ends of it, see the budget, see how it all worked. Then we went and built our own brokerages. And I always call them, and this isn't a slight, this is for me. I always call brokerages adult daycare centers, because you deal with everybody's problem and it doesn't make very much money. I mean, the word broke is right there in the word, right?
Yeah.
So it's this whole setup here with EXP is like, how could you ever run a brokerage for $85 a month?
Right.
I mean, there's other things that cost on the side, like technologies and things, but realistically, you can run a team or a brokerage in a brokerage, if you wanted to call it that, or just be a single agent for literally $85 a month. I mean, it's like the biggest no-brainer ever.
It really is. And I think because you've experienced it with the brokerages and the adult daycares, and it's hard for people that haven't been in that role to really get it or understand, the freaking reactive problems you deal with on a day in and day out basis, and there ain't no money there, and they're always hitting you up for more money.
And the checks are always going out, no matter if the money comes in or doesn't come in. The checks are always, the bills got to be paid. The mortgage on the office got to be paid. All the E&O insurances and all that kind of stuff. So I went from the subdivisions, so a little thing happened in like 2010. I don't know if most people know about that, but it made some of the papers. And I went broke. And, it was, you talk about some lessons learned. There's some lessons there for sure. And then we opened brokerages right at one agents. I just wanted it to be me. And then I started doing like 160 to 100 and never really much over 170 transactions a year as a single agent with a part-time assistant. Sometimes she worked 40 hours. I don't want to say she was always part-time, but sometimes she worked 40 hours. But that was REO world, short sale world. Yep. And everybody was upset. Everybody's values have dropped down to nothing. You'd walk away from a close. If you went to a closing, like I hardly went to a closing. I still don't go to closings really today or any inspections or anything like that, just because there's really no reason. But no reason to be there. But even the buyer, if they had a $500,000 house for $200,000, they were still upset that they thought they should get a better deal. Mm-hmm. And the sellers were the banks, the institutions that I was working with. They felt like they were getting messed over all the time too, and then they're getting messed over by the landscape crews and the roofers and the cleaners. And I mean, it was just everybody was miserable, right? I'm so glad that we made the pivot and turned, and now we're coming back to another pivot, which is a whole other conversation. But we have to find our places in these terms. But I don't want anybody, like you guys talk about. Well, you were a team doing 500 transactions a year, I think.
Yep.
I was a single person doing 160. but I was probably, I hear Jay every now and then say, I was just miserable, you know, and then there's the inner workings of the dynamic of the group inside of the group, you know, which I'm sure there was some struggles and things there. But I was probably the most miserable human being walking the face of the earth doing that many transactions.
Yeah. The thing, you know, there during that time frame where we were miserable, 5, that was 6, and then into 7. And, you know, we actually split ways for about 2.5 years.
I'm telling you, man, there's so much tension going around.
It was crazy. And, you know, getting into that, you know, there's always an angle, there's always a move. But I think, you know, there has to be that element. And my big takeaway listening to your story so far, and I want everybody to be able to pull from it, is it's hard work. And if you ever think that you're going to get in this and it's just going to fall in your lap, you're in for a rude awakening. So it really is. You got to come in, and that's just kind of fascinated, you know, with the work ethic side of things. And, you know, sometimes it's that chip on our shoulder, trying to prove somebody right, trying to prove somebody wrong, make somebody proud. But there is that force, that factor. We all have it. And you just got to be able to tap into it to be able to keep pushing through. Cause I can promise you didn't want to be up in the middle of the night, putting shingles on the roof in the rain.
No. But I don't even know if you remember this. Do you remember we did the Top Golf thing down in Atlanta?
Yeah.
So you may remember, you may not, probably don't, because it probably wasn't as big of a takeaway for you as it was for me. But do you remember? You said, why are you frustrated or something? You're like, you seem frustrated or something. And I said, man, it's just weird. Like these agents, there's no connection skills, right, with these agents. And you said something like, you know, we need to take the temperature. And then later on, you guys, we asked the group, how many people have been in business for 20 years? A few people raised their hand. Then how many people have been in business 15 years? A couple more people. The majority of that group of people, which is over 100 people, I don't remember exactly how much it was, but it was a lot of people in the room. The majority of them are in what I call the ice cream fantasy stage, the ice cream market. They put a sign in the yard. They've been in business 3 years, and they thought they were like the best agents on the planet. And here we are sharing scripting and sharing, you know, budgetary items and things like that. And they think, well, man, all you got to do is, you know, just put it on Facebook and it'll sell. You get multiple offers, you know, no matter what you price it at. You know, we're talking about valuation, talking about scripting. Remember that big old red book you guys gave everybody? Book? Yeah. And the people just weren't, the agents just weren't getting it, because they're like, I made $500,000 last year, you know, selling houses, and I hardly even do anything, because they don't have the baseline of 2000 crash, tech crash. They don't have the 2008 real estate market crash. They don't, it's not their fault. It's not their fault, but it was frustrating, right? Going back to the takeaways, that was a huge takeaway for me, was from that event. I think it was 2 or 3 days, but that was the biggest takeaway for me, was there's so many agents that they haven't been exposed to all the stuff and the options in this business. And they got people like yourself there to teach them. And they really, in my mind, I didn't think they were taking advantage of it.
So,
and that was frustrating me.
You're right. So let's stay on this point for a second, and then I want to tap into your expertise on the models and the financials, the money, where things are at, where things are going. But you're with your transition since then in more of a mentor, teacher, coach, you know, role. What are you doing to help them start to see it or get it, or can you?
You and I had a conversation about wanting it more than they want it. I don't know, back at the end of the summer, I think it was.
Yep.
And how do you motivate them and keep them motivated, and how do you get them to take the pattern? And I think that's the reason, and I don't want to be like, you know, some big head. I think that's the reason why some people do certain things in success in anything, whether it's relationships, whether it's sports. It doesn't matter what it is. Auto racing, it doesn't matter. The biggest thing that you have to get people to do is track. And this group of people that have been in this business for less than 5 years, don't seem to want to track. Because if you don't track something, you have no damn idea how to readjust and re-aim and fire again. You're just going to keep missing. It's like me handing you a basketball and saying, okay, shoot at the goal. And you don't have the goal, nor do you know what you missed, what you did wrong. So that's the reason why I'm not a baseball fan, by the way, so I'm going to try to make this because that's like
see if I can help.
The analogy. That's why there's people that sit there and track every pitch, where the foot landed for the pitcher, where the batter, they track everything. Then they go back and watch films for days on what happened during that game so they can adjust to it.
Yeah.
And we, as professional salespeople, we should be recording ourselves. We should practice. We should use inflection. We should use rhythm and pace and power of the pause. And it's easy. We were reading this book, Atomic Habits, I think it was. I got this book club going on, Realtors Between the Covers. There's my logo on behind my shoulder. But I don't know if it was one of those or the Gap in the Gain or whatever it was reading. But it talked about habits are a good thing because they make things easier. You don't have to make decisions over and over and over. It's kind of like muscle memory.
Yeah.
They're also a bad thing because you don't have to make decisions. You don't have to reevaluate. So you have to force yourself to look at something and say, what could have made this a little easier, a little better for everybody?
Yeah.
And I think that's the only part that I think that we can hit on with helping other people. To answer your question, is to help other agents. They have to learn to track. And if they don't do it, gotta kind of move on to somebody that will.
Yeah, it is. And you nailed it. It's sometimes we get caught up. And I know for me early on on the coaching side of things, I took it personal. I felt like I was pulling for them. I would do things for clients. And I was like, God, I want this more than they want it for themselves. And this will never work.
Right.
That becomes a different relationship. If you're doing things for people, that's a different relationship. That's not that mentor, that role, that coach, that leadership role. You've got to help them create awareness and come to their own conclusion. One of the things I was talking to a client this morning, and, starting to get into that, we're starting to get into that phase to where she said there was just as many price reductions as homes came on the market in the last week. And, she said, typically in that price point, inventory would be 3 or 4 homes. She said almost overnight, it went up over to 40. And so these clients are like, kind of like, wherever they're getting their information. And if you haven't built enough authority or trust, they're not going to listen to you. And I'm like, do you have the market reports? Do you have the statistics printed out, showing them, giving it to them, forcing them to look at it? Because they have to come to their own conclusion. They have to believe that, yes, you have the proven system and process, but they have to believe that, man, this is the real market data. This is what it's telling me. How do I need to position my home in today's market? But I'm with you 100%. It does come down. If you don't measure, you can't improve.
Well, I think back to your coaching. Now, I know you do a lot of coaching and like professional coaching. And I believe there's something called an accountability myth. This isn't Burger King. It's not, you don't get it your way, right? So if you give somebody a task to do and they choose not to do it, they made the choice. They gave the answer. It's like not giving an answer. Sometimes that's the answer, right?
Yeah.
Like by not giving an answer is the answer. And I think there's an accountability myth when people want to do better and they want to also kind of shoulder some of the blame and go, well, he said do this and I didn't do it because I don't think that, he didn't hold me accountable to it. It's not our duty to hold you accountable, right? It's like Michael Irvin used to say, if you can't run down the field, 30 times, over and over, 100 yards as a wide receiver in a DB, because you're fat, you need a tattoo that says eat for purpose. Every time you're going to shove that, fork in your mouth, you need to be able to see that tattoo that says eat for purpose. Because if you're fat, you can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I can say fat. I can say fat because I am. But I'm not a wide receiver.
It goes into the even back into the measure thing. And, I grew up playing golf. And so that I learned that lesson from there, right? How many putts did you have today? How many fairways did you hit? How many greens did you hit? How many times did you get up and down? Because where the constraint is in your game is know where you need to put more time in to work on it.
Right.
And so, you hit 16 greens today, but you had, 40 putts. Guess where you need to be spending your next 2 weeks?
In 21 beers. In 21
So,
beers.
21 beers. Yeah, that usually helps.
Yeah.
But really it's so important. I'm so glad you said that, because if you were not measuring, there's no way to help improve. And I know for me as a coach, as leader, if I can see the data, if I can see the numbers, I can help so much more. I can help shine a light on it. Why do you think, is it just because of the conditions of the market that they were being rewarded for bad behavior is why they never measured?
Well, I don't think anybody ever taught them to, first off. So I don't want to make it like it was their fault. And then they're getting paid. They're making really good money. I mean, look, dude, you unlock a door and make $15,000 today. I mean, you can't really fault them, right? Because that's what's happening. But this too will go away. This thing's going to shift around.
Oh, yeah.
And there's going to be a whole lot more of this. I was going beep, beep. You know what that is? Beep. That's Kroger. Beep. Publix. Ingles, whatever. That's you running that thing across. Say thanks for shopping with us, because at the end of the day, you have to make money, but you just can't. You don't know where to go if you don't know where you've been, right? I mean, look at athletics, man. They do a thing called grade out. Like when I was playing football, you had to grade out to a certain level. So they would literally go back and watch films, and if you didn't grade above like a 87 or a 90, then you didn't get to start the next week. And that was hand placement, head placement. Did you take a false step? Did you get full? I played this at linebacker. So did you read through the triangle and get fooled because they brought an end down on you, and you thought, well, okay, I'm gonna step into that end because that's the trickery, and then they put a fullback right in front of you or something. They run the ball right up you. Or they take a step back and act like they're going to throw the pass. Did you step back right away, or did you take a false step? That false step costs time. Plus, it gets you off center when somebody else hits you. So. I was trying to explain to somebody the other day, that plays outside linebacker. I said, here's the one thing you got to watch in life. This is a high school kid. I said, you watch the guards because they will hurt you. Because when you go running up into a hole and you're 180 pounds or something, or 170 pounds, whatever, and a 300-pound high school kid just lays you flat, ear holes you. It's hard to get up from that.
It's gonna hurt.
And you don't want to stick your head back in there the next time. I don't care how big your ego is. You don't want to stick your head back in there the next time you get popped again.
No.
So you make stutter step the next one. So
I want to say something too real quick, because you talked about speed and collapsing time earlier, and you just made a point right there, and I want everybody to kind of connect the dots. Like you take a step the wrong way, you lose time. And so if you commit to measuring, it can help you collapse time. It can help you move faster.
That's right. You don't know you don't know what you did wrong if you don't measure.
That's right.
And even like you said a minute ago, pricing the house wrong. So look, we all have the same. It's all this. I call it BS, bad sales. We have the same MLSs. We have the same computers. We have the same phones that open up the same lock boxes to show houses, and we tell people, oh, it's all about the marketing I do. Remember, that's what agents do. I'm the best marketer. I'm the best marketer. Oh, it's all about the marketing. We all have the same tools. What we don't do the same is communication and connection. So when you get to someone and you say something as simple as, so John, you don't want to price your house to cause it not to sell. So you got there on all this marketing idea, but now what did I just do? I just took that weight of this whole pricing and just crushed it down on your shoulders and said, you don't want to cause it not to sell, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just something that simple. They can't say you did it wrong. I'm here to give you the tools and the information, like you said to begin with, about the market's now doing this. It's changing a little bit. Here's the data. Now you get to make a grown-up decision what you want to do with this data. I'm here to guide you in it, but ultimately it's your win or your fail. That brings me to another thing. You talked about tracking a while ago and knowing the market. When you said that, I thought about this and I forgot about it. I used to go to these open houses. They used to have these things back in the early 2000s that they called caravans. They may still do it today, open houses, broker opens. But I always thought it was the silliest, stupidest waste of time to go somewhere and eat a donut until, I don't know what they were doing. Anyway, it was a waste of time. That's what it is. But anyway, so they would go do these things, and they would say, "How do you think this house is priced? Where's the comps of the last 7 sales? I need to see the pictures of those houses. I mean, in order for me to just say, you need to provide me with something, right? In order to make you, to help you do a decision. It would be like I was watching Coach Burt this morning, and it's like he called this attorney one time. And he says, "Yeah, I mean, you got a case. Get down here. I mean, you give me $5,000. You got a case. We need to sue everybody." Yeah. And the next guy said, "Hey, we need to kind of wait it out and see what goes on, and think about it. Maybe we meet next week or talk about it next week." And one guy said, "Hey, I can't give any legal advice over the phone. Let's meet up. Let's discuss it, and let's figure out the route to take." Right? Mm-hmm. That's what we should be doing with people. And in order to do that, you must provide me with some information. You ever see agents that go through houses and they go, "Oh, I love your home. I love this. I love that. Oh, I love your dog. Oh gosh, he has a funny cough." And it's like, why are you talking about that? Why is that the conversation? You should be talking about one of these 3 things and all 3. How much money you're going to put in their pocket or take away from it, the equity position they're going to have. What kind of pain are they going to feel? Showing the houses, not showing the houses, people come in and run the vacuum cleaner or whatever. And is that time frame going to fit their life? Their kid moving out of college, or their kid moving out of the house because they graduated high school? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to figure out those 3 factors. If you're talking about how pretty my beard is, the flip-flops that I wore, or the 22-year-old car I showed up in, you're having the wrong conversation.
And that's where, even getting back to Atlanta and the power of that room. I mean, we could have spent 2 days just talking about law 1 of CHSA, law of expertise, and just doing a better job at asking tough questions. And they're not really that tough. They're just ask some damn questions, get some clarity, right?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Hey, what you want to join your real estate? I says, what do you want in your career? What do you want? Because we can help you 37 different ways today. But what do you want? Oh, I'm going to go interview other brokers. If you're talking about splits, commissions, caps, whatever, what do they call it? Duty desk time, or whatever that's
stupid thing's give called. Me some desk time.
Duty time, opportunity time, they call it. I mean, get out of here. You need to be on the phone helping people, asking questions, not sitting there doing some kind of office work.
I'm
to a broker.
I believe, that we do things at a certain point in our lives out of survival, out of almost necessity until we don't need to. And I believe there's a little bit of there's a shift, right? And sometimes it's hard, especially with our upbringing and whatever, we tend to shift back into survival mode. Sometimes we make survival mode decisions, and we're not making decisions for long term. And thinking about like exactly what you just said. Most agents, and I would somebody told me the other day, so all statistics are what does Coach Burt say? 90% of statistics are made up anyway.
88%. I don't know.
So somebody had said like 83% of the agents are less than 3 years in the business. And I don't know if that's accurate, but what our head count when we did the temperature gauge in Atlanta, it was damn near 70% or more were less than 3 years in the business. So
almost the whole room was less than 5 years in the business. I just remember that. I remember thinking, wow, and look, this business is about connection.
Yes.
Sending text messages to people. That's what I heard in the rumblings was I just sent a text message and we sell the house.
Yes.
That's working in the ice cream market, baby. But when the ice cream starts melting, it's not going to work much longer.
They stay in survival because they haven't had somebody to challenge them to think long term.
And they don't like that. No one seems to like that.
And they have to come to understanding that what is your freedom? And what I see with most people, and you said decisions a second ago, it made me think was most people don't know how to make decisions. They are reactive to the environment or the situation around them, and they don't know how to move past that. And so they don't know how to make decisions because they don't have a filter to run it to. And the problem that I see, and I mean, love for you to chime in on it, is that they're only thinking through their current financial situation. And like with a lot of real estate agents, they're like, man, like I got to get that commission check. I don't know what, if I'm going to make my mortgage in 2 months.
Yeah.
And so they live in fear instead of focusing on things that drive this business forward.
Like learning how to connect and how to speak and how to shift the responsibilities and how to close somebody to help somebody. Scripting is a choreographed conversation so that you can pull out exactly what the issues are so that you can provide the right solutions and qualify in or qualify out. Are these solutions here? Can I help you or can I not help you? Because giving you false hope is completely wrong. But they say we're going to be able to do this and bring this money in. But I wrote down shift back. The most primal, I think, shift back that we do as humans. Now, this is just my stupid take, right? You know how, I don't care how successful you are, you always go back to that dynamic around certain situations. So I don't care if you made, $1 billion. You're still the dumb kid to your mother that doesn't know how you make a living, doesn't know really what you do. I mean, it's over their heads, right? It's different. We're specialists at a certain game. But you're still the little dummy that put the piece of metal into the electrical outlet.
Yeah.
You're still that to them, right? When you can go out and you've got this platform and you got all these people that pay money to listen to you talk and pay you all the money for coaching and stuff. But when you go back home to Thanksgiving dinner, you're another person in those people's eyes. You're the little brother that was naggy, or you're the big brother that couldn't get a girl. You know what I'm saying? Like you go back into that kind of like that pecking order.
Right.
And people that have multiple, people that have a lot of brothers and sisters, it's going to be that way. So I believe in the because goals. I have one child, and I believe in the because goals. Because this happened, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to do this. This is my goal. And I want to try to teach him to not be forced back in that dynamic. And as his parent, I don't want to retain him or press him down and think I don't want to put those goals on him. Like I don't know if it was The Gap in the Gain or whatever book that I was recently reading, but I don't want to put the good or the bad limitations. Do you see what I'm saying? Expectations. Let's say expectations.
Yep.
I don't want to compare him to another child and then that be the way that I do him for the rest of the world. I don't want to compare you to Jay. I don't want to compare that to Michael or Dan or, you know what I'm saying? Like we get in these little bubbles, these little microcosms, and we're into like labeling people and comparing instead of just trying to evaluate the situation.
Yeah.
So because you were mad at your brother for 20 years and you were smarter than him or something, doesn't mean that he's not smarter than you at something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It all goes back to, understanding that every one of us has a unique ability, something that we're extremely gifted and talented at to be able to deliver into the world. Most people just don't know the process or take the time to really discover that and what it is. And, understanding I definitely into the because goals. I think what really hit me, and we dropped it on the podcast yesterday, was the Find Your Why conversation that had Holly on. We did it on it when we were still doing the coffee and coaching conversations, and it changed everything for me, the way she broke it down. And it's find your why. I can never find my fucking why to save my life.
That junk's lost. It's in the backyard or something. I don't know
like, where is it? Is it running down the street? Like where is it? And so when she says, you are the best in the world at, so that you can do to give you that gives you the most fulfillment. I said, got it. Like it clicked for me right there. And I think it was also because I'm, in Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan, and that we were going through that work and trying to uncover, hey, what are you the best in the world at? And what gives you the most fulfillment? that just has really become the purpose. I mean, it's the purpose for our organization. You know, we inspire and we challenge people to think bigger. I believe people don't think big enough, and they don't know how to think bigger. And then I just love seeing transformation. I love seeing the transformation in people's businesses. I love seeing the transformation in people's lives.
Relationships, connection,
it, man, everything, connection.
But what you said about shifting back, man, everybody does it. It doesn't matter. It's like it's almost like when you hit a certain smell or something, and it takes you back, right?
Yeah.
Even as little as that is, we all have these kind of these receptors in our brain that take us back, and for some reason we kind of accept that stuff. And I'm just saying, don't label and don't think through it. Give everybody a shot until they mess up, I guess, over and over. But shifting back is what I was talking about, because we all tend to step back into that old role. And then one thing that I know you are huge on is the people in the room. Like if the tribe that you're in is not inspiring, motivating, if they're not contributing and you're pulling their weight, get rid of them and get the others, get somebody and replace them. You know, find people, you know, high level thinking people that read all the time, people that, you know, get into Excel spreadsheets and lose the whole day and stuff like that. Those people are looking for how to implement a solution, right? They're not sitting there trying to talk about somebody else and bring down somebody else. And because this person was born into this, they got this, or their daddy left them a paving company, so they're a millionaire. You know how many times they could have messed up that paving company or painting company or roofing company or whatever it is. But we tend to go back to, like you said earlier, how you were brought up and how you were raised. And what are those, you know, you said, why is the work ethic like it is? Why do you think like you think? Honestly, I don't know. But I just know that I am different than other people.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think, and I encourage everybody to do, is learn how to download more information. Listen to podcasts where it sounds like you're listening to Japanese. Your brain, give it credit. It can decipher and know what you're doing. It's like speed reading. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's going to be times that you miss the word "not" and you don't have the conversation, the content right. It's okay. Nobody died, right? You're not a heart surgeon and you missed the word "not." Don't do this or whatever, right? But learn how to read faster. I'm a slow reader. Read faster. Listen to audiobooks faster. Get to the point faster. Like, don't go around and around and around and around the world, because that confuses people. And if you add value, no one will question what you deserve. So if you add value, they will pay whatever you ask. If your talent is to solve their problem, the best way, the shortest, the fastest way, they're going to pay you. So you don't have to get all wrapped up in your head about that. And if they're not going to pay you, move on to somebody that will.
That's right.
So that was a whole lot in that mouthful, wasn't it?
It was good, right?
I'm sitting there saying, get to the point. And I made like 7 points right there, people.
In the absence of value, people question price. So
that's right.
If they're challenging your pricing, then the reason is that you haven't provided the value to the solution that they're looking for, right? They have a problem, and does your value solve that?
You know what? You know how you figure that out? Is scripting. You get to the problems faster, and you get to if you can help solve it, if you've got a solution or not. And if you don't have a solution, move on. Don't mislead them. Hey, we'll price let's go back to real estate. We'll price it, and if it doesn't work, we'll come down. How much time are we going to waste here?
It's a waste of time.
Here's the value. Here it is. Let's make it happen.
You know, one of our OGs, I mean, he was actually a honey badger when we were, gave out the awards at NAEA, and even in the markets back then, this was probably 12, 13, 14 timeframe, and they were in Seattle. His whole pricing strategy was that we price it about 5% below the market where it needs to be, and we're going to create demand, and we're going to get multiple offers, and we're going to sell it over ask price every time. They were a badass team, but that was their pricing strategy. And everybody,
look at it, man. Can you really ever underprice anything?
No, the market's going to pay. He's going to tell you
Yeah.
what it's worth.
I mean, if you've got a $50,000 boat, you price it at $25,000, you're probably going to get it back up over $50,000 if you get enough people. If you get enough exposure on that $50,000 boat, you're probably going to get the price back up there, right?
Yep.
Same thing happens in anything, as far as I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah, and it goes back to just, they're not willing to be the expert, right? To be the true advisor, be able to ask questions and be able to.
We're just saying no. Hey, I can't help you. I can't help you get $500,000 for this $250,000 house. I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah.
You know, I wish you the absolute best of luck. But you were talking about decision making. You and Holly, your family, everybody. I call it frameworks. What did you call it?
Decision making filters.
Filters. You call it filters. I call it frameworks. So we put our target. My wife and I put our target in the middle, and we draw a big box around it, and then we draw another box around that, and that's the opportunity box. So, and one thing you have to do when you talk about terms and opportunity is everybody leaves out. You got terms as, you know, time, a lot of different things that go into it, but people leave out sanity. How much sanity is this going to cost me? Am I going to stress the hell out over this all the time? Money is the M. The R is resources. E is I forget. I can't think what E is. But anyway, it's you have to think about how much is this going to cost me in our relationship? How much time? And then if an opportunity comes along to do something different, and it goes out here on the outside of the box, say somebody comes in and says, "Hey man, let's go back to the boat. I got a $50,000 boat. I need money so bad. I'll take 30 grand for it. Does this help me get my house paid off faster? Is it in the framework? Should I look at this opportunity or should I not look at this opportunity? Because does it get my family to the financial goal that we want to be at?" So every Wednesday, I do something for the Strategy Real Estate Partners, which is my organization, and I invite somebody in. So like this past 3 weeks, it's 3 weeks on and a week off is me. 1 week is me talking. I mean, I'm in the whole thing, but anyway. So this past one has been financial freedom, and it's not about like rev share or anything like that. It's about IULs, annuities, life insurance and stuff. Because as real estate professionals, we don't have a pension plan. If we went out, I'm the sole bread earner. If I went out and broke my leg tomorrow, how would I pay my bills?
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. Is like we don't plan for that stuff, and that should be in your plan. So I try to get people to come in and listen to different things from 1,000-foot view, so they can get kind of a taste of how do I pay myself first, but I don't see the money. Take $1,000 a month and put it into this index fund that's going to be $13,000 a month at the when you're 67. That kind of stuff. I try to help people to learn it. And you said, how do you do it? Earlier you said, about how do you help people push them forward and motivate them. I've given up. I've kind of given up. I now say, I'm going to give you access to the information. I'm going to put people in front of you. Now it's your duty to go out and get more information. So like next week, the next 3-week series is going to be about everything an agent needs to know about title, right? Deeds, title, taxes on the settlement statement, all that kind of stuff. And it's only a 30-minute call. So it's real easy to take that information and go forward with it, because it's not a lot of information. 30 minutes, anybody can do 30 minutes. And then the next series is 3 weeks. And it's things like, it's an attorney talking about doing an LLC so you pay yourself on a W-2. Doing how to go through probate, estate, irrevocable, revocable trust. Don't you think as real estate agents, we should have some basic knowledge of these things?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. And if they don't show up, I ain't begging anymore. If they don't show up, I'm just saying, hey, I'm giving you the access to this inner circle. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. It's about building that life team around you. And what I hear when you were sharing that is that you're putting people in front of them that they can put into their circle.
Right.
And help them level their life up. And I think a lot of the things that we've shared and we've talked about today, and it comes back to that environment and that circle. And is that like, if you want a bigger life, you got to be around bigger people. And and you got to be willing to make that investment.
Right.
You got to be willing to make that
You just have to show up, man. Half of winning is showing up. Like a month or so ago, we did a series that was completely eye-opening to me. We had a loan officer come in, and she explained how you can take your mortgage from 7% if it goes up to that, back down to 5% by putting mortgage insurance on it and paying a one-time mortgage insurance rate on the same amount down payment, the same exact cost, same exact monthly payment. But because you did an FHA loan or whatever and got mortgage insurance on it, one-time fee of $500, you can also cover the gap, the appraisal gap. So if you had a $25,000 appraisal gap, you can also cover that with that, because you're still putting down the same amount of money. That was an eye-opener to me. And if agents knew that, we wouldn't be running around screaming, interest rates are going up, interest rates are going up, the world's coming to an end because of interest rates. It's just not the case. Right. Interest rates have to go to 10% to make it where it would make a huge difference. Look at the equity people have in their houses. It's like stepping over $100 bills to pick up a penny.
That's it.
But anyway, man, I tell you what, I've gone forever. I see this thing says 56 minutes. Good Lord, I didn't realize it was going to go like that.
Definitely hitting with the fire hose.
You said, hey, he's crazy. He's crazy and different. Maybe we. No,
I love it. I love it. Hey, as we do kind of wrap here, what for you, man? If you could like one, thought, one action, one thing to kind of leave people with, like, hey, do this today. Like, you've got to do this today. What is that?
Memorize, internalize, personalize scripts, because you have to still connect with people. Zillow ain't taking our jobs. This isn't the travel industry. People may buy some houses sight unseen, but they still aren't throwing out $500,000 unless they are, they have a team around them and you're one of the team members. So if you can just internalize, memorize, personalize scripts, and then qualify through that scripting, you learn to qualify people in or out. Can I help you? Can I not help you? Do I know someone else that could help you? That's it. And I think that's all we do. I mean, I think that's our jobs.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Brother, I appreciate you. Definitely fascinating conversation. If you guys tuning in, make sure you give Daniel lots of love. Best way to connect with you?
I don't know, man. I hadn't thought about that too much. SolidApproachRealty.com is my website. You can connect there. And you got Daniel Clotfelter.work. There's some videos and stuff there, and it's all my contact information.
Cool.
DanielClotfelter.work.
Yep. Head there. DanielClotfelter.work. Brother, I appreciate you. Or call him. Just call him. Give him a text.
Yeah. Threw me a curveball. Hey, man, I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you. All right. We'll see you.